Well, hello and welcome back to Red Fox Classics, where we have a 1969 Mk2 GT6 that is getting very close to having the bodywork finished. Now, last time we fixed the A-post, or replaced the bottom of the A-post, and finally got the sill and the wing and the door all on the outside of this left-hand side of the car, and leaves the body almost ready to go. What we're going to do this time is a whole load of little small jobs, just at least to start with. There's a patch needed on the rear valance, where it's very pitted, and there's lots of bits in the bonnet where these either extra drilled holes that need filling in, or bits I couldn't weld because of the position of the bonnet when I last worked on it. So let's get on, do that little repair at the back, and do all the small jobs on the bonnet, and then it's only the larger jobs left. So let's get on with it. So first bit I want to deal with is this chunk here. You see, it is quite deeply pitted, so I just want to plate it out while we've got the opportunity. And I think what this is all this is there was paint worn away here over its time in storage, and it's just surface rusted. Anyway, let's get a bit of metal cut and see if we can get this radius in. And chuck it over the top to start with. So I've got this, which is way too big. I don't need that much. But I'm going to need the leverage to be able to get some sort of bend in it. It's going to be about there. Hopefully I'm just going to be able to manually bend this over this T-dolly. And all this is a piece of round rod welded to a piece of plate. There you go. Okay, that is now pretty good, and I also checked it with the profile gauge, which is not really fine enough to be exact, but it looks alright with that too, because obviously when laying this over the top, the radius, if this is the right radius, it won't sit flat on here. Because if this was able to sit completely flush, then the radius of the repair piece would not be correct, or the radius of this corner. Because if you think to go outside, we've got to put something on the outside of this panel and make it flat. It's going around the outside of the corner, not exactly in the same place as the corner. So, anyway, I think this is pretty good. I'm going to chop it down a bit, particularly here, because I only want just on the edge of the corner. Or rather, I want to repair just past the corner and not get all the way into the remaining metal, because it's only really this bit that's bad. Anyway, that's fine. I'm going to cut off there. So that's my initial cut. Now think about it, this is now going to go in like that way, because we need to get this corner to line up. So that means these two outer edges are going to be where we cut. So these cuts need to be right up against that line. The top and the bottom are going to move slightly inwards, because we think we're pushing the piece in this way, so we're going to end up probably cutting on that line for the top and bottom section. Anyway, Let's give it a go. Well, that just got super awkward. Access and trying to lean into the boot. My welding helmet kept falling off, and then my helmet kept steaming up with my breath, which is Anyway, I just went for the weld the flipping thing and planish it approach, because there's now a big low there. Once we ground this back and hit it with a hammer a bit, should be fine. So I will get on with that. So I've ground that and planched it a bit, and now I've got a canny bit there, which I'm going to attempt to sharpen my blow lamp. Very unsuccessful, it would appear. Let's try the magic hammer. It's not oil cutting, it's low though. So I think it's almost there, but I think my problem is I'm just using what was in this can, just a butane glow lamp. I don't think it's getting the metal hot enough. Right, I can get the metal hot enough, I can get metal to cherry red, which is what you need, but because it's a much slower heat, or colder flame, I think what's happening is we're heating up too much of the surrounding metal, and actually as I'm heating it I can see the panel coming out towards me. And you can see the heat affected zones there. And really we probably want the heat affected zone to be like right in the middle. So this is alright. I'll probably cope with it, because after all this is behind the number plate. But I think I'm going to let this cool off. I'm just going to weld. Just put a blob of MIG in there and then cool that with water and see what happens. Because really now I just want to make sure I got rid of the oil canning, because that could potentially, if that flexes when it's painted, it'll fall off. Paint will all fall off. Actually, that's not really. Yeah, it's a little bit. I think I'll just give it a one last try. Blob of MIG in there and chuck some water on it, or a wet rag, and see how that goes. It's all underneath here. Yeah, okay. No idea what I just recorded. So, blowtorch didn't work very well, I think because of heating too much of an area before it got the middle cherry red. So I just done the spot of MIG and cooled it with the wet cloth, and using the MIG at a quite high setting, so what I'd use for about 3mm steel, and that has worked and got rid of the oil canning. There was still a bit of a low, high, low, something like that there, but as we saw, this is behind the number plate, so I don't think it's worth me fussing any further over it. But the oil can is gone, which is what I was aiming for. So now it's the back of the car done. Let's go to the front and start dealing with some of the holes in the bonnet. Yeah, lighting is not going to work here, is it? Just about to see something. Anyway, on both sides of the bonnet I've got lots of little holes to weld up, which we can't see because the sunlight is disagreeing. Alright, well, I'm going to get on with that. You can see with the torch, yeah. So I've done a bunch of little touch-ups and grinding jobs in here, and in here, and up there. So I just put a brass backer, held brass backer on the outside, and welded up the holes from the inside. I can actually tell where the low in the middle, where the wing mirror must have been bolted down. Anyway, last thing I was going to do was weld up these holes, but then I went, well, I'm just going to dug back through my old videos, and I highlighted this at the end of one about a gearbox, because obviously that makes sense, and I did a bit of a check for some other pictures on the internet. These three holes were original, as is that, and that's for the bonnet stay. So I don't really know what they're for, but they are supposed to be there, so they're staying. That obviously is worn, so I'm going to weld a washer onto it, I think, to give it some reinforcement, and then tidy it up. So there, we can see it, yeah, my washer clamped on. While that primer has been drying, yeah, there we are. You see, I've been cutting away the slip, and I was almost thinking I could save it, but then really I couldn't. So what I'm going to do is put a strip down there, just on the edge, and then a new inner lip over the top. obviously I've left this bit as a separate repair because it's probably going to need something more substantial. And the same. See, here it actually doesn't feel like it's blown out, but I don't know, it's tempting to leave some original because it is there. But then if that just means it's going to rot out within a couple of years, that's probably a bad idea. Anyway, I'll get some welding done. So, washers in. It's not the super neatest of welding, but access was awkward. Whoever said you should be comfortable when welding clearly never tried to restore a small rusty sports car. Anyway, let's get onto this bit. So the light is still not my friend for filming. It's the day after and I was getting this in, and I just got fed up with grinding above my head. Didn't get it finished, so back on. I'm going to get that ground down, put in a little strip. Obviously seam weld down there, spot weld them together, and then continue probably this direction. I think what I want to do is at least figure out where that arch is going to end up. So that's in, I'm pretty well ground and trimmed back. I'm just getting the Wheelarch lip jaws ready on the spot welder. Get that edge done. So if you haven't seen these before, like they've got the Wheelarch lip in there, and you can sit outside and run all the way around. So I finished off that Wheelarch repair, and I've had a good clear out and tidy up, so the body of the car is now, well, empty-ish because I've already put stuff back in it, but you know, cleaned out all the dust and swarf and that, and obviously got the car back on its wheels. Now, I've had a little fiddle with the bonnet fit again. I don't know if I can go any further, but I want to be pretty sure now, because this is where I'm going to start. You know, I'm going to rebuild this corner, and I want to rebuild it so that the gap between the valance and this corner is the same as that one. Anyway, I have gone and written myself quite a long list of all the things left to do on the body. I'm just going to have to start going through ticking these off. Now, before I do any more metal work on the bonnet, I'm going to try and get that out. This happened while it was being transported back from blasting. This was the risk of using some people in a van. But it's metal and it should come out. It's also got beautiful donuts like this one as well. I'll try to deal with that while I'm here. So, let's see what we can do here. So I can't really claim to be any sort of panel beating expert, but we want to looking at where, you know, we can see what's happened. Something's bashed in there, and that's pushed out a little bit, and obviously this is pushed in. And to start with, I'm just going to see and push it out a bit without hitting anything too much. Says hitting things. So that's actually, you know, hitting it from the inside with the dolly a little bit. It's got a lot of that out. So hopefully I'm trying to get the dolly on the crease. See what happens. Yeah, because what we're then doing is pushing on the bit that's low inside, hitting either side of it with that slapper. It should cause it to come upwards, which it is. I still feel the crease. It's better already. Well, I thought that was pretty good. It's not. That's good. That's quite low. I'm going to have a go at that again. Okay, I've had another go at the dents, and they're a bit better. I think that one's at a... It can be a filled stage, that one. It's very, very shallow. Anyway, I've also been fiddling with the bonnet again. I've lifted this up a little bit to give myself a better gap under here, but I think this needs to come forwards, and I think this is stopping it. So I'm going to cut away this other repair because we're not using it, and then see if this will pull a little bit further forwards, because the kind of crossbar that goes under the grill is bent up at this end. It feels like it should just come. This should just come out, but it won't move. And it might be this having been welded in that's holding it in the wrong sort of place. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Let's have a start to look how bad or good this is. To start off with, it doesn't have all of this, which would have been useful. So probably, well, I'm going to try and keep this corner at least. This is all thin under here though, so I was really wanting to replace this section. For that flange, it's not bent in the right way at all, because look, that's lined up with the bottom flange. Usual thing, isn't it? I thought this might make things easier, it probably won't. You see this? That corner is not very nice compared with the original, so I'll definitely try and go below that. And really, even this bit here, that's just not as pronounced on this repair panel. So let's use that bit. So I'll cut it above that section, and then along that line, I think. Just even down there. Yeah, I'll take that section because I'll repair the flange on there. I don't know, it's looking semi-acceptable for a rough fit. This hole's not even the same size at all, is it? Oh man. It was actually better. So while I appreciate things, you know, are made to a price point and whatever, This is just not the right shape at all. So that's supposed to be a straight line down there, and it isn't. If we line up the bottom of the, if we line up the bit that goes under the light with the bit that goes under the light. Anyway, even if that goes there, it's nowhere near being able to meet up the original wing, or original whatever this is. No, it doesn't look there. Then that doesn't fit. I still don't like how that had been done. Oh. Can I make this work? I should just make something again. Maybe we make this bit and then we just chuck that on top. Okay, let's do that section. So let's start off with a bit of door skin again. Just like that, and get it squashed down, didn't that? Okay, so I'm going to cut down there, try and get myself a bend in, and then see if I can make basically that section down to the edge of the valance. What did I do last time? I think I cheated and clamped it to that wing, didn't I? Which obviously I don't have in this case. Okay, so I've just got that clamped on to give me the guide of straight down. And I'm going to start to get that fitted here. First by kind of quite a bit shorter there. So getting there, but I need to flatten out that bend a little bit somehow. Can't remember what I did last time. Now bend it a bit further in. So I just flattened it by putting it against the edge of my bench, which is a piece of angle iron, and just hammering along that edge. I'm going to see if I can use this to just bend it by hand. Because I do remember this. That's not really works either, is it? This is not quite. So it's a straight line down there, but this curve and this curve are different. Okay, so with that there, what I'm hoping I can do is just chop down here and kind of stick this up top. Okay, so this is getting to the almost alright stage. I think once it drops down a bit, this gap will close up and I'll actually be able to work with it. It doesn't really like what I'm trying to do. Let's try and change this bend, or sharpen this bend a little bit. Whatever this is made of, it's not heavy gauge steel. It's bending very easily. Let's get that weld ground off. So we're almost there. Oh. Okay, so I think this needs to go up a little bit more to compensate for it overlapping on that. But otherwise, it does feel like we're getting there. So much of the rest of it then. Alright, so it's the next day. Camera hasn't moved, but time has. Anyway, I've been staring at this a bit more and trying to decide what to do. I've just gone and got out one of the trims that goes around the lights that sit there. And on the other side of the car, the very slight curvature of the light plinth matches this. So it makes sense. This is the bit of patch panel I've been trying to fit. And you see the curvature does not match. And if you see here, the curvature really does not match. And on here, it sort of does. But it suggests this is a bit bent in. Okay, that's less bent in now, good. So I'm increasingly thinking that this whole thing is going in the bin. Well, even if I do that, because that might work, but if it does, then we're still quite a way off meeting up with this panel down here. No, I'm going to go and do a quick try with this piece. I'm going to go to the shrinker stretcher and see if I can get that curve on the bottom piece to match this thing. No, that thing's lots of junk. I mean, there's enough stupid shape in it to not really have expected that. Trying to stretch that to do anything useful, but it really hasn't done anything useful, so that can go. Which is very annoying, because I was hoping it would save me a little bit of time, and what it's actually done has cost me a whole load of time. I'm trying to make it work. So, just got a bit of metal. I'm going to just give it that bit of a bend until I've got the curve of that trim. Like that. Then I'm going to see if I can just pop that in there. Okay, so I've got a piece on there, and that's giving me a reasonable fit of the light bezel that's got my curve in it. So I'm going to go to the other side and make a template of what that front shape is, so then I can cut around these edges and start to build in the rest of this shape. Obviously I'll cut out the hole later. So I've got a bit of card cut. Mark that out. Now before I cut it, I'm just going to... No, not with that. Just wondering if I can get something... Yeah, if I can get that behind it. Clamp it on, maybe I can bend it. Nah, I'm going to be safe as cutting and welding, aren't I? Right. Maybe scoring it. That could work. Well, that's going to work. So I'm going to have to run a weld up there and grind it back, but yeah, I think that's turned out easier than I was expecting. Possibly could have been a bit. Because my template's made off of the side that I made, and this lump here is probably a bit wrong, but we're just filling that. Well, I've cut this bit off and tried to fit it. Actually, it sits there quite nicely, but this indent is just nothing like the original one. So it's all junk. So actually I managed to rescue this with the aid of a hammer. I've managed to get that profile to match up with the one on the car. So I'm going to use that much of the patch pattern. Or in fact, less, because I'm going to cut that in half. Right, I think probably what I should do here is put the D plate back in, because that's going to give me something to line this up with. Well, this area is proving awkward. Don't know how I managed to do that. Because what I was looking at was this is so really difficult to show. Basically, the bottom of this replacement bit has dropped at this end relative to that, which means it's getting closer to Valance. So it looks like I'm going to have to grind off my admittedly very crappy welding here. Cut through there, and readjust everything. But at least the front, I think the front is pretty good now. So let's just try not bend that as we fiddle with stuff. Okay, so I've cut down there and moved this back so it's a straight line down there in both dimensions, or all dimensions, and I've cut through there again and pulled this inserted piece of the bottom lip upwards, so that is now even. I think this is okay. So I'm going to get as much weld in here as I can while the bonnet's in this position. And my ultimate plan here is to try and repair that. Basically get the outside, well, get the outside in a good enough position where I can take the bonnet off and just finish it off the car. So that means at least having that section where it's going to fit to the valance done, and possibly to deal with the rear, or the trailing edge of the bonnet. Anyway, I'll get that welded, and maybe grind off some of this awful stuff. So that is now done, at least in terms of being the right shape and stable, or the right shape relative to Valance. Obviously, there's some dressing to do and holes to drill, all that sort of thing. But I'm going to do that. I can't. This is bogging me at the moment because I keep having to not quite finish things. But then it makes sense to finish this off when the bonnet's off the car again, because otherwise I'm trying to grind this while lying on the floor and up against this Valance, and yeah, so I just got to do that. Anyway, that's done, and so is this episode. I can't remember what I filmed, but it's been about a week's worth of work, so we'll put something together from that. Next time, though, we've got this hole to fill in, and there's the same principle. I want to get that line fixed, and then everything else. If I can fix that corner and fix here, even if it's clecoing something through into this bit, then we can build the rest of the bonnet, or at least the rest of this bonnet corner, just make sure all that stays in the right place. But if you want to see that, you have to come back next time. So if you're not already, please make sure you're subscribed. If you want to support the channel in another way, we do have stickers available in the shop now. Should be a link below the channel. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone who comes back regularly regardless, and I'll see you next time.